Hey, it's Harib, and I'm going to be doing a walkthrough of the solution to a puzzle I solved recently. It's part of a puzzle hunt run by Cracking the Cryptic and authored by a user named Qinlux. I have a link to their Patreon that has it, and a link to their YouTube channel, and also a link to this puzzle itself. And looking at this puzzle, it's called Build Your Own Crosswalks, and these lines are crosswalks. What we have are clues outside the grid, and each letter clue corresponds to a number inside the grid. This is a two-digit number that's either read top to bottom or left to right. So if this D clue is 12, that means this D here is also a 12. And what these clues mean is these clues are the sum of each cell that's on a line, on a crosswalk, in that particular row and column. So this D clue is the sum of these three cells. And the A clue is the sum of these 5 cells, which is the same as the sum of these 4 cells, and so on and so forth. And the other rule with the lines is that digits cannot repeat on a line. So this segment is 8 cells long, so is this one, and it has to have 8 different numbers. And other than that, it's just normal Sudoku rules. And I was really impressed with this puzzle when I solved it, and even more impressed going back through it again. The construction is just brilliant, and it's like peeling layers off of an onion. There are a lot of puzzles where you do something, you learn something secret, and then you move on to the next thing. And in this puzzle, you're just going around chipping little bits off at a time until you get to the final solution. And in this, and the gray and green cells are part of the puzzle hunt. They have nothing to do with the solution of this puzzle itself. And a lot of people seem to be having trouble with this puzzle, and others were using some pretty advanced techniques that aren't strictly necessary. And so I'm going to show how I did it, and it doesn't really use anything except arithmetic and the rules of the puzzles. So let's get started. So the first off is this A clue, and we know the A clue is the sum of these 4 numbers. And the most 4 numbers in a column can be is 9876 for 30. And since this can't be a 0, since it's a Sudoku puzzle, this has to be a 1 or a 2 for 10 something or 20 something. If this is a 1, the A clue is also the sum of these 5 cells. And if this is a 1, the smallest these can be is 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, which is 20. So if this is a 1, the A has to be more than 20. That's not going to work. So the first digit, the tens digit in the A clue just has to be a 2. Likewise, this B is the sum of 2 cells. And we know it's a 2-digit number because we have a 2-digit cage here. And the most this can be is 8, 9, which is 17. So the first digit in B has to be a 1. And the C clue is the sum of these 5 cells. And the most this can be 98765 for 35. And it can't start with a 1, and it can't start with a 2, so it has to be a 3. And the units digit has to be a 2, a 4, or a 5, because it can't be more than 35, and it can't repeat the 1 or the 3. So the interesting thing is, now that we know that this is at least 32, there can't be a 1 on these lines, because the most you can make is 1, 9876, and that only adds up to 31. So we know the 1 isn't here in this box because there's a 1. The 1 can't be here because it would make the line too small. So the 1 has to be down here. When we get to the D clue, the D is the sum of these 3 cells, which is at most 987 or 24. But it can't be a 10 number because the 1 is here. So the first digit has to be a 2. The second digit can't be a 1 because it's here. Can't be a 2 because that would repeat. Can't be a 3 because it would repeat here. Obviously, both the D clues are the same number. So it has to be 24, which means these have to be 987, because that's the only way to make 24 in 3 cells. It also means this is no longer has 32 as a possibility. So now, since this B clue is the sum of 2 digits, it can't be 11 or 13 because that repeats, 12, 14, 15, 16, or 17. But now that this is 34 or 35, the only way to make 35 in 5 cells is 98765. To make 34 is 98764. Both of those have a 6 and a 7 in them, so this cell cannot be a 6 or a 7. Likewise, if we try to make this cell a 2, we're going to have a problem like we had over here, in that the B clue is the sum of these 3 cells, except we can't use a 1, a 2, or a 3. So that's like 4, 5, 6, a minimum of 15, actually bigger than that because of this. And we can't get anywhere close to making it small enough to be a 12. So that's not a 12. And so now the 1, the 3, and the 4 and the 5 are somewhere in here. So the smallest these cells can be is 2, 6, and 7, and that's 15. So this can't be 14. This has to be 15. This has to be a 34. These have to be the 2, 6, and 7, like we talked about. That can't be the 2, which leaves an 8 and a 9. And so now the 34 means that these cells have to be out of 4, 6, 7, 8, and 9. And these can't be the 4 by basic Sudoku. So now the 2 in this row can't go here because there's a 2 in the box, and can't go on the line for the reasons we discussed. So it's a 2, and that leaves a 1 and a 3 here. So now we know the B clue is a 15, and it has to be these 2 cells, as well as the B clue in this column, which we already dealt with. And so 15 in 2 cells is either 6, 9 or 8, 7. Don't know which, but it has to be from 6, 7, 8, and 9. And I'm going to go ahead and color this one blue. We'll talk a little bit more about the coloring in a minute. We know that whatever this digit is, it can't be here in this box because of Sudoku. It can't be here because it's not allowed to repeat on the line. So it has to be here. And that means in box 7 here, it has to be in the middle column. Well, 6, 7, 8, 9 is obviously not there. So this is the blue cell. And we're going to continue the coloring on and consider this red and this green. And we know they're all from 6, 7, 8, and 9, but they're all different numbers because they're not allowed to repeat on the line. And this column has to have the red and the green number somewhere on it. It's not down here for obvious reasons. It can't be here because that would be repeating on the line. And so the only places it can go are right here. And that means the green one has to go here, and the red one has to go here. And the red one can't be a 6. And the reason this helps out is we know there's 6, 7, 8, 9s, but we know in particular which digits are the same. Because now we need a red number somewhere in this box, and the only place it can go is here. And so now we can learn a little bit more about this puzzle. So this can't be a 2 or a 4. This can't be a 2 or a 4. So the only place on the line that a 2 and a 4 can go is right here. If you remember, we said there had to be eight numbers. So one of these, this is either the 2 or the 4, and the other number is not on the line. That means every other number besides the 2 and the 4 must be on the line. And specifically, it means this digit has to be on the line. It can't go here by Sudoku. It can't go here because none of those can be 1s and 3s. So it must go here. And this this and this have to be the same number, and I'll just mark them as black. So what this means now is that we have the numbers that are left over in the column is the other number out of 6, 7, 8, 9, which I'm going to call purple, the other 1 and 3, and a 5. So these are from 1, 3, 5, and purple, and this one can't be a 3. So now what we have looking at this column is this is 20 something, and this is the units digit. So whatever the units digit is, let's just say 5, it means the other 4 cells that are on a line, the ones that I have highlighted, have to add up to 20, plus the units digit make 25. So whatever this is, these 4 cells have to add up to 20. And we know purple is at least 6. So if this is a 1, this is going to be a 3, and that's going to leave us 5, 4, purple, and red. That's 5, 4, at least a 6, and at least a 7, which is at least 22. That's not going to work. And the same thing if this is a 3, this is a 1, 5, purple, 4, and red, at least 22. So this is either 5 or purple. And importantly, that means it's at least 25. The A clue cannot possibly be smaller than 25. And now we can go back and look at this other line and do a similar thing. We know that the 1 and the 3 can't go here. So the only place a 1 and a 3 can go is here, because all the other numbers, all the other spots are filled up. And so if we put both a 1 and a 3 here to go on this line, then we can't get to 25 for this A clue, because the most we can have is a 9 and an 8 in those cells for 17, plus 1 and 3 is 4, it's 21 total. That's not going to work. So we know that either a 1 or a 3 is missing, and that every other number is on the line. So starting with 2, 2 can't go here, 2 can't go here or here. This is the only place that 2 can go. And that means that's not a 2. Similarly, 4 can't go here or here, so 4 appears to be able to go in these 2 cells. But if you put the 4 here, it eliminates this 4 by being in the box, and this 4 from not being able to repeat on the line. So that would mean there's nowhere to put a 4 in that entire row. So this can't be a 4, and this is a 4, which makes our special number up here a 2 and means that a 4 is not on the line. And this also means the 2 and the 2 here combined with the 2 here mean this has to be a 2. And there's either A1 or A3 here, which we'll come back to later. We don't know which yet. And let's do a little bit more coloring of the 6, 7, 8, 9s since we got another digit up here. So these are red and green, which means these have to be blue and purple in some combination. The same way we knew we worked the blue number out here, we know the blue number isn't here by Sudoku, isn't here because it can't repeat on the line. So the blue number has to be here, which means this can't be blue. So that's purple, and it's a 6, 7. And this is blue, and it's an 8, 9. So I'll go ahead and clean up that blue has to be an 8, 9. And so now, let's see how we can possibly get this A clue to be at least 25. So the biggest numbers we can add, so we could make this a 9, or okay, if we make this as big as possible, this would be a 3. And then we're going to try and add the next 2 biggest numbers, which is the missing number of 6, 7, 8, 9, which could go here, and a 5. And so now what we know, we actually know what red plus purple adds up to. And the way we know that is we know that green and blue add up to 15 from the B clue, and all 4 of the 6, 7, 8, 9 add up to 30, so the missing 2 are the difference, 30 minus 15, which is also 15. So if we add the red and the purple, the hypothetical purple trying to make this row as big as possible, that's 15. 2 and 3, 20. 5 is 25. There's no possible way to get this clue above 25. And since purple is at least a 6, this can't be purple. This just has to be the 5. And likewise, when we said this was how we would make these numbers as big as possible, when you do that that means those numbers actually have to be what we were discussing. That has to be the 3, this has to be the 5, and this has to be the purple 6, 7. And so now we know this is the 1, and this row now needs a 1 and a 4. This has to be the 4, and this is the 1. Likewise, by Sudoku, we know this has to be the 2, this has to be the 4, and down here, this has to be the 3. And from there, we know that 1 is now the number that's missing, so one of those cells has to be the 3. And so what we can come back to at this point is now we know red and purple add up to 15. And purple is 6 or 7. This means red has to be 8 or 9. So that means the missing 8, 9 here is red, and the 6, 7 here is green. And we know that this isn't 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. So these numbers also have to be 6, 7, 8, and 9. And we need a red one in this column, and the only candidate is here. So this is actually the red 8, 9. And these numbers are 3, 4 in some combination. And okay, we actually know that this can't be the 4. So this is the 3, this is the 4, and this is not a 3. So now we can ask where red goes in this box 7 here. And we know we need a red number on the line because every number except 1 is on the line. Red can't go here or here, or here, or here, or here, or here because it's a 4 and red is 8 or 9. So we know that red goes here or here. What this means is that this number cannot be red because it would rule that out by being in the box and rule this out by being on the column. So this number is not red, it's not purple, it's not blue, so it has to be green. And that means that the red number is here in this row 7. That means in this box it's not here, it's not here, and it's not here. So this has to be the red number. And in the central box, it can't be here, 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 or here, sorry. So this is the red number. And from there we know that this, this can't be red because it would repeat on the line. So this is the red number. And so now we've seen green and red. So these have to be blue and purple in some combination. Likewise, this is either blue or purple. And this row is either 5 or the two cells here are either 5 or purple. Now we can look at this cell. If this cell is purple, then that makes this blue and this purple. And both of these are purple. That means this can't be purple because of this. This can't be purple because it would repeat on the line, and that would break the puzzle. So this is not purple. This is actually blue, which means this is actually purple, and this is actually blue. And we still don't know which order these go in, but we'll get to that here in a second. So now if we look at the candidates, we have an 8-9 pair here. So this is a 7. And so what we have here is everything on the line except a 1, a 5, and a 6. We know the 1 isn't on the line, so these two numbers are either 5 or 6. So if it's purple, purple's a 6. And we'll get to that in just a second. And let me fill in the greens, which I was leaving as 6, 7, 8, 9s for some reason when we know they're 6s and 7s. So now let's look at this A clue, which is the sum of these 4 cells. If we make these cells as big as possible, 9 and 3 is 12, plus 6 is 18, plus 7 is 25. That's the only way we can make 25, is to make these as big as possible. And so that's what they actually have to be. So that means red has to be 9, which means blue has to be 8, green has to be 7, and purple has to be 6. So these are this is a 1-6 pair and a 5-6 pair. And the purples that we know where they are 6s. And this number has to be 6, like we said, for 9, 3, 7, 6 to make 25. And since we can't repeat on the line, this is a 5, this is a 6, this is a 1, and this is a 6. And now we've used every clue in the puzzle. And I'll go ahead and remove the rest of the colors because we don't, now that everything is converted to numbers, we don't need them anymore. And so now we just have to do a little bit of Sudoku to fill in the rest of this puzzle. What we have, we know the 9 can't go here, here, here. So this is the 9. 7 can't go here or here, so this is the 7. 7 can't go here, here, or here. So this is the 7. We need a 1 and a 3 here. This has to be the 1 and that's the 3. A 5 and an 8 here and here. That's an 8. That's a 5. Now we need a 1, a 3, and a 5 up here. That means this is the 3. This is a 1, 5 pair in some order. This just has to be a 2. This has to be a 5 and an 8. So we know the 5 is here. The 8 is here. This has to be a 3 and a 6. 3 and 6, which leaves 4. This leaves 1 and 8. This leaves 6 and 7, which is a pair. This leaves 1 and 5, which has to go this way. Now this column, it needs a 4 and a 5, which has to be a 4, a 5, 1 and 5. This needs a 1 and a 3. I'm sorry, a 1 and a 6. Scared me there for a second. 6 and a 1, which makes this a 7 and a 6. And this needs a 7 and an 8. So this is a 7, that's an 8, and we're done with the puzzle. And this puzzle, you could see how I was talking about how you would go around and around, and you keep coming back to this A clue. Well, first you do it with the B and C clues, and then you keep coming back to this A clue. You can see that all I did was a little arithmetic and a little bit of coloring. There wasn't anything fancier than that going on. But I really like solving that puzzle, and I hope that this was easy enough to follow, even if the puzzle itself wasn't easy enough to actually do in real time. Like I said, this is part of a puzzle hunt put on by Cracking the Cryptic. Their Patreon, their minimum subscription is $2, and this puzzle hunt has 8 other puzzles, and they're all really good, just like this one. This is my favorite, but the rest of them are well worth the $2 investment if you want to go over there and check them out. But that's it for today. Hurry about.